Starting off with today's video, we're going to be going over the Edgewing and the Sand Shooter, and we're going to be comparing the two to see what exactly makes both weapons good or bad, so you guys are able to decide which weapons you guys want to go for. So starting off, we have the Edgewing on the left and the Sand Shooter on the right. As you can see, the Edgewing is a purple rarity weapon, while the Sand Shooter is a legendary rarity weapon. Now, both these weapons are actually boss drops that you can get from the Beastman camp, Drogar being the one to get the Edgewing, and the Lycan boss to get the Sand Shooter. Now, from my experience, both weapons are just as difficult to obtain, requiring you around maybe 500 to 700 boss kills if you're really unlucky. For those who are fortunate enough to get it under 100, hey, good job, guys. Keep it up. I'm gonna need more of those. But yes, the Edgewing is a great axe, while the Sand Shooter is a great sword, meaning that the great axe swings faster, while the great sword swings slower. So both weapons are two different weapon types, both being heavy, but one's the faster option, the other one is the slower option that does more posture damage. So the Edgewing actually has 16 physical damage, while the Sand Shooter has 18 physical damage. Now, you're gonna see when doing number calculations with the Edgewing and Sand Shooter, you're gonna see that a lot of the time the Sand Shooter ends up doing 1 or 2 more damage with skills as well as M1s versus the Edge. What exactly makes the Edgewing so good? It swings faster than a greatsword. Its critical attack or weapon art, whatever you want to call it, does a lot of posture damage, and it's just a well-rounded weapon for PvE and PvP, since you're able to swing fast for PvE as well as PvP. The critical attack or weapon art is able to actually posture break mobs very efficiently. And in PvP, the critical attack or weapon art is able to actually hit a lot of people at the same time, granting you a lot of healing if you're on Berserker, or a lot of flux if you're on Swordmaster. Now, the only con for this weapon is that it just requires long boss farming, which is pretty much the same con as the Sand Shooter. So yes, both weapons require a lot of boss grinding, which is just so cringe right now. Now, the pros for the Sand Shooter, now that wasn't able to find a lot of pros for the Sand Shooter in my opinion, but it does have higher M1 damage, which is really good, and it does actually have 4 stat of stamina built into the sword. So if you're holding the weapon, you are slightly more tankier than if you were to hold the Sand Shooter or the Edgewing, which isn't a lot because the Edgewing does come with 2 stamina, so it's just 2 stamina extra. So if you want a little bit more extra HP, you would have the Sand Shooter equipped. Now, the Sand Shooter is actually slow, so it has very slow attack speed compared to the Edgewing, which is a little terrible in PvP as well as PvE, because you won't be able to take as many swings, especially since the damage difference is like 1 or 2. It has actually lower posture damage when it comes to the critical attack. The critical attack just doesn't do enough posture damage to warrant you to use it to begin with, so there's that. It's just really bad in PvP as well, since it swings slow. It's like you're hunking around like a giant piece of stone. It's just not that good at all. Hey, I'll give you this though, the weapon does look cool. So if you want to go off visuals, the Sand Shooter does win in that department. But hey, if we're not talking about visuals or metamanting, then do not go the Sand Shooter. It's just not good. But yes, overall, I would recommend you farm for the Edgewing if you're going to farm for any of these weapons. It's faster, it hits slightly less harder, but its weapon art makes up for it, as you're able to posture break mobs very efficiently with it. It's just better for PvP and PvE overall. It's just the best weapon for most warrior builds if you're going to farm for one of these weapons. Yes. The other, though, on the other side, you have the Sand Shooter. It's only really useful for, heavy hitting attacks, or just, you're trying to get like a higher M1 damage build, but it's not that good even in that regard. There's just some better options as well, because you can even use the weapons from the faction store to substitute for this. But yeah, hopefully this video does result in a Sand Shooter buff. I hope that all of you guys who are seeing this video see how bad the Sand Shooter is, and you beg for a buff as well, because the weapon's just not as good as it should be, especially since it is a legendary drop from a level 40-30 boss. Like, you know what I mean? It's an end game drop. It should be better than at least the faction weapons, which it isn't at all.